Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
So before we jump into the feed reel, I just feel like we have to say that we're sending all our good vibes to everyone in the path of Hurricane Milton. I am so shocked about how all this has played out, especially with the Dr. Judy event. So we're recording on Tuesday, so it hasn't hit yet. So I'm just like sending all the good vibes. I hope maybe it'll take a crazy turn.
Yes, I cannot believe, of course, hurricanes aren't new, but the devastation that happened with, is it Helene?
Yeah.
It was, I literally would look at the news and I'm nearsighted and I thought that maybe I just wasn't seeing things correctly. And my mom is in Georgia. So she was telling me what was happening in Georgia. And Georgia is where she is. It's southern Georgia, close, a few hours away from one of the Florida cities. And it made me realize that it's not just about, the hurricane coming through and blowing your stuff around. It's like power outages for days and weeks at a time. That includes all the businesses. So that means you can't get gas, you may not be able to get groceries, or any of the perishables in the store or in your home are toast. If you need medication, you may not be able to get it.
Yeah.
You may not be able to go to the doctor because the roads are out. And it's so many things that we take for granted. It's insane. And I got home yesterday and I felt, the second I was up and leaving San Diego, I felt like, oh, I don't feel well. I think I'm coming down with something. And I call it socialization sickness, where, I was socializing with people from first thing in the morning, like 7:30 in the morning until 8, 9 at night for 2 days straight with very few breaks. The only breaks I had were to go to the restroom, because if I wasn't sitting in on a session, speaking at a session, I was at the booth talking to people. And so it was a lot, and I'm still just absolutely exhausted. And I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to call in sick tomorrow because I can't function. I can't think. And then part of me is like, and yet people in Florida and Georgia and other surrounding areas are still dealing with no power. I saw a news report where cars couldn't even get to areas. They were like, you need to walk there or someone said, go on horseback. So yes.
Thoughts
and prayers.
It definitely puts your problems in perspective,
yes,
right? Like first
exactly.
world problems. Yeah.
It's just like, I'm not complaining this week on social media because I really have nothing to complain about. Nessie's, it's like Nessie's like, I'm happy. This is playtime. Whenever she pulls out the mic, it's time for us to play.
Yes, she thinks my hand is a chew toy that I'm trying to take away from her. So, all right, fill us in. How was Feed Reel?
Feed Reel was fantastic. This year, it was a 2-day event. I feel like last year it was, but it wasn't. But it feels like it was. But it was a 2-day event. It was amazing. It was truly, truly amazing. And when I was there, I knew that people had, several people weren't able to come and had to get rid of their tickets last minute. And my thought was, damn, I wish they had known. Some stuff you can't help if you have a sick dog or, family, there's emergencies, all kinds of stuff is going on. But we had people coming from all around the world. I met so many people that I see online, and I'm going to tell you, there are people that you meet or you interact with online, and they're pretty amazing. And when you meet them in person, they are just the best people on the planet. And meeting Dr. Nick Thompson, Dr. Hunter Brady, and Brandon, and I don't know what Brandon's last name is, but the trio of RawPetMedics,
Yes.
they were astounding. So much fun. Being in their presence, all you did was laugh. They were a hoot. They were so much fun. I wish I were on this America road trip with them. They are, if anyone has wondered if they're as cool as they seem, yeah, very much so. They are. They're so much fun. We went to dinner, and we just, they were great.
It's Dr. Brendan Clark.
Thank you, Brendan Clark. Lee Carroll was, this was the first time I met him. I ordered Dr. Rob Silver's book, which is now available on Amazon. So there's a mushroom for that. That should be coming. If I thought it would have come yesterday, but it'll come eventually. But yeah, meeting Lee Carroll, he was so much fun. There was a time when the guys came and got Lee and just took him, and they were just gone. And Joni was like, I wonder if Lee's going to come back. And eventually they did come back, but that's when we left to go to dinner. But yeah, it was a lot of fun just hanging out with all the people. There was a company, and I wish I could remember the name. I should have been more prepared. They're from South America that had a booth there, and they had, similar like real treats from like farm treats with the fur on them and things like that, as well as homemade cookies that were really just cool. And trying to think of who else was there. There was, of course, Real Mushrooms, CBD Dog Health, Glacier Peaks.
Oh, wonderful.
They were there. I'm trying to think in my head, Animal Diet Formulator. So that was I was going to say Dr. Ruth Roberts, Dr. Barbara Royal, and Dr. Susan Becker. And because I kept teasing her saying, I'm going to just start calling you Dr. Susan Becker. And she was like, people actually do just mix them together.
I'm sure.
And so, yeah, the second day we had a long-standing joke where I kept hugging Susan and glaring at Karen and going, she's my friend now. But yeah, we had fun. I met a lot of people that I've been interacting with online. And the sessions were really good. I didn't go to all the sessions because it was nonstop. And so I had to take breaks at some point in time. So I missed Amy Wren's session and Angela Ardolino's session, but I heard good things about them. The ones that I went to were Dr. Nick Thompson. His was phenomenal. And I did post on social media that basically got the highlights of what their sessions were about. But his was phenomenal. Connor Brady's was absolutely, I can't even tell you a favorite, but his was phenomenal. Karen and Rodney, theirs was really good. And I'm trying, Kay Stewart, I loved hers because she talked about the benefits of, what was it? Cartilage. She's talked about the cancer fighting benefits of cartilage. While I was there, I was things like, a lot of talk about mitochondria. A lot of people brought that up. It feels like every year there's a word that we talk about. Like there's a year where we talked a lot about the microbiome. This year it was the mitochondria. Okay. But it was just really, it wasn't one of those you better feed raw type of situations. It was more of from everyone's message and all around, like there are so many things that we could be doing. It's just endless, the things that we could be doing that are easy, cheap, and free to raise healthier dogs. And I loved it.
Is Alphabet the name of the?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, okay. That was it. Thank you.
I think they're from Mexico.
Yeah. And just wonderful, wonderful people. And I just want to give a shout out to Kenzie, who was kind enough to pick me up at the airport, even though she had already flown in and gotten settled. She came back, picked me up at the airport. I do want to say another shout out to Nick,
Kenzie's husband.
Yeah, he didn't come with Kenzie, but it was really nice. And I found out that Nick is not our only male listener.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I mean, I'm sure we probably have several, but I don't know all of them. We know Nick, and now we know Ethan. Ethan commented on our YouTube channel that he says, I can indeed confirm that you have more than one male fan. So thank you, Ethan.
Thank you, Ethan. We appreciate you.
But yeah, it was really a fun, like at the end of the night, you're exhausted type of event. Even like going out, it's not like when we went out, we were talking about like that was the only thing we were talking about. We were talking about the industry, but it was just sort of like we were talking about, you know, why do we have so much trouble communicating things? And what do you think? And nothing was was bashing any group. Like that's what I loved. It was just really honest. You felt comfortable speaking your mind. And it was just, I don't know, it was really invigorating. And it made me realize again how important these events are because they really just, what's the word? Recharge you to keep you want to go. Like where I don't even know what that sentence was, but they make me want to keep going. And it was a lot of time. It was a lot of fun. And so yeah, I'm still absolutely exhausted. Because I was going to call in sick today and I emailed my boss. It's like, I'm just going to do a couple things and then I'm going back to bed. And that actually I didn't stop until 2:30. So I didn't really, so I'm still kind of going slow.
Yeah, I knew that feeling. That was me after Super Zoo, where like I didn't get off the sofa for like a day.
Yeah, and I luckily came back here to sunny weather because the weather there was not sunny. So I came back here to sunny weather, and
I thought it was always sunny in San Diego.
so did I. It's called a marine layer. What I loved was occasionally hearing a conversation where it's like, well, where I live, this is called fog. And let me tell you, that marine layer is no joke because you cannot see day or night. You can only see like maybe in the day a half a block ahead of you. And so you have to use your GPS. And the GPSs in the cars that I was in wasn't perfect. So we were using our hands too. And so like I rode with the RawPetMedics and Lee Carroll to dinner and I navigated. And there was at one point in time where Lee Carroll tried to jump in and correct the navigation. And we're like, no. It's like he's like, apparently Kimberly's better than I am, so I'm going to stop. So I appreciate that acknowledgement because I'm actually not very good at directions. And so that felt great. But yeah, it was very thick. And at nighttime, it was immensely horrible. Brian, who works for the Raw Pet Food Company, we drove, I think it was not Saturday night, Sunday night, we left the event together and went back to the hotel to get dinner. And we ended up in an apartment complex.
Oh,
yeah. Because it's like we were following the road and the way there were roads that are like right next to each other. And the GPS doesn't tell you, hey, you're actually going, it was not helpful. So, but otherwise it was still, it was still a really fun, amazing event.
Yeah, well, I'm super bummed to not be heading to Florida this week for the Dr. Judy Morgan event. Obviously, they had to reschedule given the hurricane. And of course, it's being rescheduled for next year on the day of my 20th wedding anniversary. So that was a bit of a bummer personally for Erin. So anyway, I don't know what my 2025 is going to look like yet.
I know, and I hope that means that the guys are coming back over.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, because they are really fun.
I threw my Baltimore hat in the ring because on their road trip, they're coming from New Orleans up to New York. And I'm like, well, Baltimore is, if you're on 95 coming up the East Coast, you're going to go right through Baltimore. But
it was fun. If by some miracle they do land in Baltimore and they reach out to you, go to dinner. Just go.
Well, I would love to take them out for Maryland crab cakes.
There you go. Do that. Because it'll be the best night of your life.
I have no doubt.
Except for your wedding night. in your wedding and maybe your birth and, other wonderful things that happen in your life. But it'll be a fantastic night because they are so much fun. The way they play off of each other is hilarious. I did ask each of them that, we wanted to have them on the podcast. We cannot have all three of them on the podcast at once because they will just take it over. They will literally take it over and we will just be sitting here trying to get a word in edgewise, but we could do it one at a time. And, but yeah, they were so much, I feel like just a complete, fangirl, but it was just so much fun hanging out with them. Ruth Roberts was there. She was so much fun to talk to. I'm going to take her course. Rita Hogan was there with her wife. There was, there was a lot of people that showed up just to be there. And I mean, it was really a fantastic event. It really was. There were people that came in from Florida and came in from New Jersey to come to this event. There were people who came in from other countries. Nick's wife was there, and she was really absolutely stunningly beautiful woman. I mean, wow. Yeah. She's so cool and so nice. And I mean, you're surrounded by all these accents. I meant to ask them a question. I meant to ask them if they're ever speaking to someone over a period of time, if the person starts speaking in their accent. I always think about when that period of time when Madonna suddenly had a British accent.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it looked like our stickers were a big hit.
They were a big hit. I actually had people coming up to me on Sunday asking me if I had more. But I ran out of them before, probably like in the afternoon on Saturday. And you sent me a thick stack of them. And so that was really a fun type of situation. Anytime someone asks, it's like, oh, and we have a podcast. So
my favorite picture that you sent me was the picture of Dr. Royal displaying our podcast on her bosom.
Yes. She is so much fun. We had such a blast. She's so much fun. I offended people, not, in a fun way, with my tequila because we had drinking tequila. The restaurant we went to, they were brought out a tequila cart. And so we had, sipping tequila. So I had a couple of those. And then they gave us these little bottles, and I think mine was 1942 Dawn something, I can't remember. And they were like, this is a really good tequila. And I don't like tequila, but sipping tequila it's really smooth and nice. I didn't know. But so I had my bottle and I was just wondering, it's like, I wonder if I can get this on the plane. And it's like, are they going to take it from me? But we ended up going to the bar. And so I pulled it out and I was like, hey, can you make something out of this? Can you make a margarita out of this? And the guy behind the bar was like, you're breaking my heart. And I'm like, is that wrong?
Yeah. Don Julio. That's, nice stuff.
Yeah. And Rob from Animal Diet Formulator, he kept telling me, no, you can't do this. And I was like, well, what about if I just do this in a glass and you put the stuff around the rim? And he's like, no, you can't do that either. And finally, and he was just telling me, he's like, you are not going to like it. It's like, if they do, you will not like it. It'll be a waste. I promise you will not like it. And I was just like, you don't know. And so I got it. I was like, can I just have an ice cube then? So they put it in an ice cube and he put the dip on half of the glass. And so I tasted it and I turned to everyone and was like, you were right. It is disgusting that way. And the bartender was like, that's why I only put it on half the glass. And I think that was either Susan or Barbara came over with a tissue and just wiped all of it off of my glass so I could finish drinking it. And I was wrong. So I have learned that when you're drinking very good tequila, don't mix it with it's not a mixer.
Yeah. It's a sipper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sipper. And it was good. I had that. And then for acknowledging my wrongness, Rob bought me a watermelon margarita, a spicy watermelon margarita. I guess that's a big thing because they were at the happy hour the next night too. But and it had a big chunk of watermelon in it. And I learned that Dr. Barbara Royal does not like watermelon at all. And I bullied her into taking a sip because I was like, it doesn't taste like watermelon. It just has a drop in it. And so she took a sip and then did a full body shudder of disgust.
That's
But the
hilarious.
next night when we got the watermelon margarita, I had her taste that one. I was like, this one doesn't have a chunk in it. And she tasted, she's like, this is good. She's like, well, why didn't I like the other one? And I was like, you were just all freaked out by the chunk of watermelon. So she drank that with no problem. So yeah, but it was a fun event. I look forward to next year. They already have tickets on sale
Oh, wow.
for people who want to go next year. The early bird tickets are already on sale. And I think actually that sale ends by the time this airs. The discounted price ends on Wednesday, which is tomorrow as we record, but
Oh,
it'll
wow.
be days ago when this is released. But I mean, there's still going to be, tickets to be sold.
Oh my
So
gosh, I don't know if I can pull the trigger on that yet. One of these days I want to make it there.
yeah, I'm really curious to know what next year will be like, because this was really fantastic. And I thought what I loved about the sessions that I went to is that they weren't over your head. Sometimes people, they give you so much information and there's no way I'm going to be able to retain all of this. And although a lot of them will say, well, I'll publish the slides or things like that. At this one, everything was very like a small tip that they just expanded on. Like with Dr. Nick Thompson, his big thing that he was a lot of stuff, but one big thing that I walked away from was that get outside at dusk and dawn, because that's when what is it? I have it written down on because I actually went and asked him about it because I wanted to make sure I understood. Basically, it's the light outside, but it's the red light that comes from the sun. That's at its highest at dusk and dawn. So it's like, he said, go outside, walk your dog, or just hang out outside with your dog, or go out and, read a book and get that, into your system. With Dr. Connor Brady, it was a reminder that we can have an impact on our dogs and each other from a distance. And what I walked away from when he was talking about it, he didn't bring it up, but I immediately thought of E.T. and the connection between E.T. and Elliot, and, and mimicking that to my dogs. And, what was it? Of course, with Kay Stewart, just the idea of the cartilage and the fact that, we can give our dogs, the Real Dog Box has cartilage treats every month. So just giving that to our dogs is doing a benefit. Back to Dr. Nick Thompson, there was another thing and I just completely lost it. Oh, but anyway, it was a really, really good event. Something that, I don't know. Oh, salt, adding salt to our dog's food or to add it to their water. He even did one thing of just setting out bowls and, of water bowls, just several of them, and then putting a different trace mineral in each one and letting the dogs decide what they need. And it was a lot of fun.
Did
Just,
he say if it should be like sea salt or
yeah,
iodized
sea
salt?
salt. Because that was my question, was like, what should it be? Himalayan salt. And his answer was that if everyone continues using Himalayan salt, there will be no more salt in the Himalayas. So he was just like, just a quality sea salt is what all we have to do. And so I did that today. I just took mine and just did one twist into because it grinds. I have the grinder. Just did one twist into their water, and we'll see. So, but yeah, all in all, it was a great, great experience. And everyone was so amazing, sharing just talking to people. Oh, the RawPetMedics, they brought their supplement line. I didn't take any.
Oh, they
They
have a
do have,
supplement that I want, and I was really looking forward to getting it at the Dr. Judy event.
I wish you would have told me. I would have totally snagged one.
But they have something that is really good for yeasty dogs. And
I
while
did see it.
Nessie's been doing better overall, like I still just wanted to have it on hand for her. And it's not something that I can seem to find anywhere else, the like specific product that they carry. And I was like doing all this research on it and like trying to see like, can I get it somewhere else? Can I get it on Amazon? And like literally like they're the only people that have it.
Yeah. So yeah, they have the entire line. So that was kind of cool to see. But yeah, it was interesting. A lot of people were talking about the Judy Morgan event, and if it was going to happen, because
Yeah.
everyone's like looking at each other and wondering. I heard someone say something about they were just going to go anyway and shelter in place, and I was just sort of like, I don't think that that's how that works with a hurricane. But it's just like it's got to be kind of unnerving if there was anyone that was going straight from this event to that one, and they
Yeah.
were just going to hang out in Florida for the
Orlando.
week and
Yeah.
then go to the event. It's just sort of like, what do you do? Can you switch your tickets that quickly to, go back home? I have no idea. It's just got to be a mess. Oh, and my flight was delayed because of that marine layer. My flight
Oh,
was delayed an hour. I think Brian's flight was delayed an hour and a half to 2 hours. Another friend of mine, I think, did Ben get out of there in time? We were texting earlier, and I think he didn't do so, or he did pretty good, where they got out of there pretty good. But yeah, that was one of those things where because everyone who was landing, everyone who's taking off, it was all slowed down in San Diego. But
oh. Well, it sounds like it was a blast, and the pictures and videos and I saw all looked amazing.
yeah. So while I was talking, Bella, I'll show you. She took every toy out of the bin,
Yes, she did.
and
They are
that's what
everywhere.
she, that's what she did. She just sat there taking one out of the bin after the other. She's never done that before, or she hasn't done that since she was a little puppy. She used to have a bed, and she would put all the toys in her bed and then lay in the bed. But she hasn't done that. She just took one after the other. So, what's up with you?
It's been mostly quiet over here. Just trying to figure out, what I was doing with traveling or not traveling. So I had a funny thing happen last week. So, when I got married, I took Tim's last name. So I've been Erin Scott for quite a while now. And I purposely don't use my maiden name on social media because, it's like if you don't know me as Erin Scott, well, but there is somebody who I knew from back in the day who recently found me on Facebook and had sent me a couple messages, catching up and all that. And he was just kind of like, so you really like dogs, huh? And I was like, oh, yeah. Because I was thinking, I knew this person before I ever had dogs. And,
Yeah.
he's like, you look like you're always doing a lot with dogs. Like, yeah, yeah. And how do you even begin to explain to like
Yes.
somebody who's like not a dog person, not a pet person, not even much of an online person? It's like, how do you
Yeah.
even begin to explain? I just left it at, yeah, I do a lot with dogs.
I think it's so funny because it's like it's always delivered in such a like they're so baffled. And
Yeah.
I'm so used to being around so many people who love they may not do everything I do with dogs, but they still do a lot with like all of my friends do a lot with dogs. They travel with their dogs, they take their dogs everywhere. They have lots of dogs. They're in dog rescue. It's a big world that I'm in. And I forget that there is a whole world out there that does not
Yeah.
understand. Like they may have a dog, but it's just, it's not that big. It's not what we do, where there's an entire platform of we're just talking about it and getting geeked out about the fact that we just learned something new about dogs. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he has any dogs at all or, any like kind of pets or anything, and so it's just like, I think he's like, oh, what do you do like with your spare time or whatever? Because he's always going to like concerts and Ravens games and Orioles games, and I'm just like, oh, dog stuff. Like, so it's just been very funny to like think about, how much of my world these days and how many of the people in my life these days are all because of my dogs. And and what do you even talk about with somebody who's not? I did find a very cool Facebook group recently, and I'll put a link for everybody in the show notes, and it's called Biome for Pets, the number four. And so this is actually a company that's similar to Animal Biome that's actually based in the UK. And they just have a really awesome low drama Facebook group where they're always posting new research and articles about different things with the microbiome, and also like insights from the data that they get from examining the samples and what they're finding about, whether it's glyphosate or showing up in dogs, or antibiotic resistance or things like that. So it's just been really interesting to scroll through and just kind of read what's going on in there. So I've been having a good time with that.
Yeah, very cool.
How do you tell somebody that your hobbies include reading about dog poop?
Yeah, there is Feed Real has a cool new t-shirt, and I wish I would have gotten the second one for my friend, but it says like, I don't give a, and then it has a poop symbol if your dog is friendly. And I was just like, oh, that's a clever shirt. I wish I would have thought of that. But yeah. So
So,
yeah.
I recently got to interview somebody over on the Believe in Dog podcast. It'll be coming out soon. It's Dr. Zazie Todd, and she has a new book coming out about helping shy, fearful, and reactive dogs. And so I noticed that this wasn't included in her book because she is a psychologist, and everything that she publishes has, a scientific like research, and she cites everything basis. And so I asked her like after the recording about the microbiome, because I have seen different articles about the microbiome, being able to influence behavior and microbiome transplants. And I guess she felt like they weren't quite there on the science yet, or there wasn't enough science,
Oh,
but,
okay.
that she was kind of following this and might write about it like in the future. But I'm always curious about that and bringing the microbiome into everything.
I am dead.
Pride.
I am dead. I gave away all the stuff at the booth though. I didn't take anything home.
Good.
I
For
know.
real
I'm like
mushrooms.
really proud of myself. Yeah, that I wasn't like hogging all the real mushroom products.
Well, I can't wait to see Dr. Silver's book. I had ordered a copy. I had pre-ordered a copy a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah, I'm really excited. It was available. I know it was available for shipping on Saturday when I ordered it. And we had a copy at the booth. But yeah, it was a really fun event. It was like, I mean, I guess I haven't really been to events again, and it's been so long because of the pandemic. And so it's nice to be able to get back out there and actually attend some just a really great events. I mean, honestly, last year the great events were Carrie Hyde's Thrive Pet Expo and Feed Real again. Those were still two really great events. And the year before, Carrie Hyde had a really good event. And that was the year before where Ruby was like, I think I'm going to do something like this. So, but this year, I mean, as exhausted as I am, I have nothing on the people who did the AHVMA and then
yeah,
this back, and then they were about to go to Judy Morgan's event.
yeah,
I mean, I was just like, wow,
that's a
that is
haul.
a lot. That is a lot. I mean, there's no way I could. So I'm sorry that you won't be able to go
I know, it's such a bummer.
this weekend, but
But
it
I'm
is.
sure it's a bigger bummer for the people there. So
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like I bet you it's got to be so frustrating too, because I was wondering about the logistics of rescheduling,
yeah.
because I'm sure anything that's going on, because I mean, that's kind of a hub. It's a popular place to go to.
Oh yeah,
But
with
anything,
Disney and yeah.
yeah. I mean, with everything going on, there's got to be a lot of events that immediately were like, okay, everyone's sitting to wait to see what would happen. And then they're like, okay, let's start rescheduling. And you're bumping into all the planned events that were already on the books for next year. And you don't want to, push it out too far. It's
Yeah,
just
I
a,
had
it's a
actually sent a note to Krista, who works for Dr. Judy as her event planning person, and said, I'm so sorry this happened. I know you've been working on this for like a
yeah.
year.
I mean, I remember when it happened to me for the Seattle Pet Expo and the
With
pandemic.
COVID.
And I didn't bother trying to they wanted me to reschedule, but I wouldn't do it because I had no idea what was going on. And
Right.
I knew I have a friend whose husband was basically on the front lines in their area with the COVID stuff. And he was like, yeah, this is not going to be a few months. And so I was just like, no, I want to cancel. And it was really hard, the canceling of it, and dealing with the hotel because they didn't want to let me cancel.
Right.
And because everyone was canceling, and then making sure people got their ticket money back, because the ticket company that I was going through kind of went bankrupt, because it turns out that they were spending the ticket money and then paying events out of the next event's ticket money.
So it was like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, a Ponzi scheme. And so this happened and they got caught out. So I basically had people who bought tickets reported as fraud to their credit card companies if they weren't able to get their money back. Because it was just like, because there was all these discussions in these groups about what's going on. And on the page, people were like, what's going on with you guys? And that was like very minute, just very like a tiny inconvenience of what I experienced. I could not imagine having people coming in from other countries to my event and having it completely planned and organized. And, because it was weekend, they were able to get these people to come to these. I mean, it's got to be such a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
But it's better to be safe than sorry.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, I'm up here in Baltimore, and all day long on 95, the interstate, there's just like caravans of utility trucks that are all heading south, to help out.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is just like, it's funny because, it's out of habit. You compare your life to what's going on. And, we have windstorms, and we've been out of power for like a week, probably like, 5 to 7 days. I think that is as far as we've been out of power, but the stores were open, the gas stations were open, like, because everyone has generators. And so no roads were washed out. We were fine. We just didn't have power.
So I actually know somebody that lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and she's very fortunate where they live that they didn't have any major issues. But her husband is a doctor, and the hospital is located in the area where that was hardest hit. And so the hospital didn't have any water. Because it knocked the roads out, it knocked like the water and sewer lines out. So they actually had to have people come out and drill a well in the middle of the parking lot of the hospital in order to get, water and things going to the hospital again.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It makes me want to create a bug out bag for my dogs. I mean, I've been talking about doing this for years, and I really want, after the visuals that I've seen, I want to have some type of emergency bag where it's like, if we got to go, we can just go.
It's funny. I don't think we have a dog one. My husband is always on having a bug out bag for people, and and even like having things in your car, like should you get run off the road, and having like that emergency blanket and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I should probably get something together for the dogs, and maybe like having that like freeze dried food or something around.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I do have I have air dried food. That's my emergency food. But even that, it doesn't last forever. So eventually I'll have to replace it. But, I do want to put together just a bug out bag just for each of the dogs so I can grab it and go. And this weekend, I'm going to go and do a little Costco run. But it's just a reminder that, gosh, we're so freaking lucky.
Yeah. I think the hardest we ever got hit here was that I remember in like recent history was Hurricane Sandy. And I think we were out of power for about 36 hours. And I think, we've lived in our house over 20 years now. And I think that's the worst, thing that we've ever experienced with like power outages and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We just we get windstorms, and we actually haven't had them in a couple of years. So knock on wood, we don't get them, because this is a time of year when we get them is a windstorm, and it'll knock out trees and it'll knock out power. And so that kind of blows. But yeah, for the most part, we have such mild weather up here. It's not something but yeah, when you watch the news and you think about the hurricane, I always think that it's just Florida. and I forget about all the neighboring states that are impacted. I've been texting with my friend who lives in Florida, and she gives me an update of everything that she's doing. And it's like, stay alive.
Yeah.
And because she has a dog, she has chickens. So they have their pen. She has chickens and ducks, and they have an area, but she built an area in the garage so she can bring them inside the garage
Mm.
so that they'll be okay. And, just all the things that you have to consider and take care of. And so it's just like, golly.
What are you gonna put in your bug out bag for dogs?
Ooh, good question. Well, I'm going to get water. I'm going to get trace minerals only because trace minerals are on the mind. I'm going to get some, freeze dried or air dried food that I know that my dogs will eat anything. So I'm very lucky about that. But I want to get sort of like a big bag or a decent sized bag of the food. And then I have a dog first aid kit.
Yeah, I have one
So,
of those. Yeah.
and then, just the things that they need. So, collar, leash. I honestly can't think of anything. I'm sure that there's tons of other things that my dogs might need, but definitely a collar and a leash.
Yeah, I was thinking of Nessie thinks that those collapsible dog bowls are toys. So
Ah,
I can
yes.
only ever use like physical like steel bowls with her. Like I have one for like when we go to training class and stuff, because otherwise she just like throws it all around and flings it around like it's a toy.
Yeah, and if my dogs need any type of medication, I'll put that in there, and any type of, like with Zoe, because she's my senior girl, anything that I know the fact that she'll need. I would also like what's it called? A sedative,
Mm.
because I figure if we're taking off with a bug out bag, we're all a little stressed out, and I might need to drug these dogs a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, or
So,
like your extra CBD or
uh-huh. It's like I'm going to pour a half a bottle down your throat. Oh, and some poo bags.
Oh, yes, good one, good one.
Even though I doubt that I'll care, but it's good to have.
So I
So,
was just thinking of a funny thing that happened back when we got hit by Hurricane Sandy. So that was in 2012, and we had gone and stayed at my parents' house for a day because they did have power when we were out, and we had our old gals Lucy and Kalua back then. Well, my nephew was in like kindergarten around that time, and he had done an art project where they glued honeycomb cereal onto like construction paper, and it was like the wheels of the car or, whatever it was. And my parents had it hanging on the refrigerator, and my dog Lucy ate the honeycombs off the picture. And we still laugh about that to this day because my nephew Tony was so offended that his artwork had been tampered with.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, we are getting ready to start our third level of newswork class over here.
Nice.
And I'm looking at doing our ORT, our odor recognition test in December so that she can officially start competing.
Nice. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. I need to do something for Bella.
I highly recommend the nosework class. And I really love how we are able to I just keep her in the car until it's her turn.
Mhm.
So, I don't think she's not fearful at all. Sometimes she's reactive being in the car and seeing things go by, but it just makes me feel like it's a low stress thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Nice.
so for a dog that might be more shy or something,
Yeah.
it's a good way of doing it. I also have been looking into, I guess they have like these privacy window blackout things that kind of like you can pop on and off your windows. Because I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
use those to cover her so that she'll stop barking at all the other dogs and the other cars. That's my Nessie girl.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm glad you had a wonderful trip. I'm so excited for Ruby and them for having this amazingly beautiful event.
Yeah. She and her team did a great job. They did a fantastic job. It was just beautifully done. Really organized. They had a person there. I'm not quite sure if she worked for Ruby or if she was just like an event planner, but she had everyone rounded up to keep things going. And it was well organized. Yeah. It makes me never want to do an event because it's just sort of like, this is a lot of moving pieces and I'm exhausted watching you guys. So yeah, it was a great event. So if you're listening and if you have an opportunity to go next year, I highly recommend. And I'll be speaking there next year, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. That would be awesome. But there you go.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.